the fact that UNPROFOR would not vigorously defend the boundaries of the safe area or their positions, and the fact that to that point the 28th Infantry Division was not able to provide for a coherent defense, bolstered the idea in the mind of the VRS that they could militarily take the town of Srebrenica.
On the 10th, we got the message that we would be supported by massive air support on the 11th. The first message was that we would get that airstrike supported by 44 airplanes. Then the very moment that it would be effective, 0600 hours in the morning of the 11th, they didn't come.
They are the modern army. Even under the circumstances of reduced strength and limited ammunition, they certainly could have caused casualties among the approaching VRS forces. Coupled with operations with NATO air power, which would have acted as a significant force multiplier, it's entirely conceivable that they would have been able to stop the VRS in their tracks.
Message we got: mission aborted. That's a technical, military technical word, but that meant the order to all the planes to return home. And how later on those two Dutch F-16 fighters did come in and did one CAS mission, close air support mission, I didn't know, but we were happy with it.
The first meeting I had my General Mladic was on the Tuesday night, 8:30, and we went to the hotel in Srebrenica, and there was a crowd of military persons, all in combat gear and clothes. And there I met for the first time General Mladic. There were a lot of press around, television, and General Mladic started excusing me of all things what happened in the last 6 days. That I was responsible for the airstrikes or the air support, killed some of his people, soldiers, that my soldiers had tried to kill him because of shooting at him. That we were not able to disarm the BIH forces within the enclave, and so forth and so forth.
My mission to defend Srebrenica in that phase meant try to protect the civilian population, because defending an empty city is nonsense.
We always try to keep families together, and also when the amount of people was too big to be transported in the buses or trucks. Later on, I noticed that the men were singled out, and they were no longer kept with their families.
I went back and forth between the compound and the big group of displaced in order to see if there were sick or wounded or dehydrated children among the displaced, or people who were too old to cope. So I did bring them in the little hospital in the UN compound. People in general were shivering, not due to the temperature. It was extremely hot, but they were so fearful, and the children were just laying on the ground, very apathic, not playing, not crying. So, in short, people were horrified, and they didn't know what would go and happen.
So I approached and I looked at the guy and I saw his General Mladic. At least I could identify him because he's someone we had seen on TV and all that. So you could easily identify him. So I knew this is the real General Ratko Mladic. So I approached him And I asked him, surely, what is happening here? I can see men are being separated from the women and children and being taken to that building. The way it looks from outside really shows that there is a big problem. It's overcrowded. How can you keep people in one overcrowded place like that? There is no air, there is no switch, there is nothing. So I told him, okay, if they are comfortable, fine, but what do you intend? What is the problem here? Why are you separating them? And he told me, no, they're okay. Just leave them alone.
Mane told me that they had a list of war criminals, Muslim war criminals, and that they were going to check if the persons, the men they singled out, were on the list of war criminals, which they wanted to try for their criminal actions earlier in the war. The whole house was basically packed with men, and in front of the house, the whole front lawn was packed with a mixture of personal belongings, photographs, and also, as I saw then, passports from the men that were sitting inside the house.
So they were all taken in, and this was one of the saddest moments that I ever had in that area, in that you could see men, real men crying, asking us, you UNPROFOR, why are you letting these people take us? Why are you letting them go with us? Why do you want us to be killed by these people?
And I posed a question to him that if the explanation he had given me about the war criminals was correct, that the men would need their passports to prove their identity, to show that they were, in fact, not on the list of war criminals or differently. Basically, he grinned at me and he told me that the man didn't need the passports anymore, and which at that point made clear to me that there was a very dark future ahead for the men in the house, and in fact for the men that had been singled out the day before.
In the early evening, I felt that I was cracking and I couldn't cope anymore. My heart was racing. I'm sorry. And I felt I couldn't do my work anymore. I couldn't take care as much as I should have done anymore. So therefore I wrote that telex. And of course realizing after the telex that it's not possible to be replaced, but by just having said I can't anymore, it was okay. So then I laid down for some time and I rested a bit and then it was okay. Then I could continue.
The desperation was everywhere. Even on our own side, we were desperate. We were thinking, why did we fail? Why were we unable to contain this situation? When I say we, in fact, we are also referring to the whole UN system. So how come we could not ensure the security and safety of this enclave, which was actually called a safe area?